Welcome back. This is the morning show here on Signature TV. Hope you're good out there. It's 8:35 in the morning, and today we will be discussing something very, very important and interesting, and it's all about security, specifically in the Southeast. There's this report that's out now, and it's looking really scary. But then, this is not to scare anyone, but to also bring to the fore the situation that we are seeing and we're witnessing, with a view to bring in some solution or bring it to the attention of people who are in authority in order to do something about it. It's about a special report by a group who says that there is over 950 places across the Southeast that has been occupied by marauders. Then you wonder, who are these people? How are they given lands? Why are they where they are? We have with us to discuss this Emeka Umeagbalasi. Good to have you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Can you hear me? All right, Emeka, if you can, unmute your device, if you can, because I can see you, but I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Is it okay?
Okay, so I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay,
Very
so good
clear.
morning. Thank you for joining us. I mean, straight to the point, there's a report that is out there stating there are 950 places occupied by strangers across the Southeast. How true is this, and how did that report come to the fore as to, did this, or were these places visited? I'm trying to just find out really whether, these places were actually visited, and if truly these places are occupied.
Of course, the report is authentic. And if you look at the background of the report, it wasn't just conducted. I mean, the research and investigation wasn't just conducted. It has patterns and trends. It has been it has been systematic and consistently reviewed. If you look at the introduction part of that report and trying to answer your question, you will see that these locations were not there from the time immemorial. They weren't there. The, such locations started after June 2015. That was when they became noticeable, you know. And by the way, we have been following up what is going on in the southeast, south or eastern Nigeria, at least since 2010. So their patterns and trends, the identities of those involved, their sponsors and what have you. So we are in the know of what is going on. So going straight to your question and trying to answer your question, yes, the answer there is that yes, it wasn't. It was a detailed report. I'll give you an instance. By 2015, there used to be very skeletal number or minutest number of such locations in Igbo land or south. Therefore, in 2009, by 2019, 139 locations were identified. What I mean by locations, who are those people masterminding the locations? The jihadist Fulani herdsmen and allied orders. We noticed that in 2019, by 2019, the number began to grow to the point of 139. If you look at that report, you see the breakdown. I think Enugu had 52 then. Anambra was involved, inclusive, Imo was there, Abia was there, but it was there. Igbo Delta, that is Igbo part of Delta. And locations were noticed. The Igbo part of Benue, Igbo part of Kogi, and all that Igbo part of rivers. All these things were mentioned, included in that 139.
All
By
right.
2002, by 2000, let me give you the number so that you understand, so that we can capture your question correctly. You ask whether those things, the figures were manufactured or whether they were, visited upon or, done in detail. So by 2020, that should be around mid 2020, the number increased to 350. By 2021, May 2021, the number alarmingly doubled, 700. And the 700 included those non-Southeast Igbo, ancestral Igbo communities locations. And we attached that report in this particular latest report. If you we have gone through the report we are attached, the link we attached, you will see the locations, communities we are mentioned, locations in several communities we are mentioned. So the research work was done in detail. It's not just a kind of, abracadabra. So it's a detailed report. Thank you.
All right. The report, did it also say how these people are occupying these places? Do they come in and buy land and occupy these places? Do they come in and just find a land somewhere that is empty and they occupy these places? Do they displace the owners of these land when they occupy these places? I'm specifically talking about the Southeast.
I think the whole thing is beginning to unfold. Uh, I will not mince a word by saying that those Fulani herdsmen were not alone. They were aided using state structure. In fact, there was this popular saying that when you want to categorize emergence of democratic government and their aids in Nigeria, so critics, international critics, have labeled the emergence of retired Major General Muhammadu Buhari as the Fulani state power conquest of 2015, just like you have Boko Haram uprising of July 2009. So they were not on, they were just, there are so many dimensions. In 2015, after the reference person became the president, there was an arrangement, a decor arrangement, a disguised arrangement. I think if you are very conversant with federal government pronouncement, you would have seen where they recently mentioned that there are in possession of the number of forests in Nigeria, and that is 11,129 or thereabouts out Nigeria. So that was actually done in late 2015. Incidentally, it was carried out by Nigerian Army. They said they want to do forest map, nationwide forest mapping to be able to determine or tell the activities of Boko Haram there. Now, at the end of the day, we don't know how the number, the result of that national forest mapping got into the hands of wrong parties. And one of the parties is using that number today. In this mapping, it's in religious and communities, inter-religious communities, tribal, this and what have you, are all captured. But it was a classified this thing, which was declassified sometimes somewhere by one of the members somewhere in 2019, and we were privileged to be in that particular meeting. So that is to answer your question that it didn't just move. Let me tell you four categories of that operation. We started with that forest mapping I told you. After that, by early 2016, there was a strong suspicion of state security forces protected movement of the Fulanis. They started moving southward, middle westward, and what have they. And now we carried out investigation and noticed that wherever you have major military checkpoints or military or other security forces, especially mobile police or what have you, formation, there is likelihood of Fulani herdsmen roaming around that particular area. That was the first discovery. We visited several places in the southeast, like Ogwe, Asa, Ogwe, and what have you, Okwa West and Okwa East in Abia State, near, what do you call this barrack in Owerri? Is it 34, not 34, is it 14 brigade, oh, 34 brigade, OBs, they are there. We also visited Ohafia, near 14 brigade Ohafia, and many other places. Including maybe there was a time at a point we traveled to Port Harcourt, and we also noticed the presence of these guys near naval formation at Omoila and so many other places. That was one of the districts. Then second one, now by 2017, the pattern changed. I'm sure you are aware that the federal government then wizard armed jihadists from different parts, from Black African countries, Maghreb African countries, Sahel African countries, and what have you. They were wizard into Nigeria with the arms, and that was when the rest of the places were saturated. By 2020, there was an agreement, an alliance, struck in Niger State. Alliance by the Jihadist Alliance. It was announced and written, published by many newspapers in Nigeria. So, as time goes on, then at a point, the federal government now introduced this Fulani ethnic programs and got such programs nationalized and made them mandatory. Then some federal government agricultural facilities or programs were Fulanized and some say Islamized. So that is that, and that was how most of these governors got involved. I'm sure you are not, it is no longer news. I'm sure you must have read February, where federal government is mandating state government to key into the so-called national ranches and what have you. So the point earlier this year, they announced that throughout the country, we are surveying 417 ranching facilities across the country. Now, as I said, who are those people occupying these ranches? Members of the people and investment? No, not. So, then again, there comes this issue of, oh, you must, the balance is not, is alleged. If you want to win the election, if you want to also win your court case, you must abide by these, into these national programs. And that was how the governors of the Southeast got involved. But when they were approached, they started denying. No, there was nothing like that. No, you just want to do this or what have you. Now the question is just like you said, trying to answer most of the issues you raised. Now another question is, there is no longer denial from, in fact, across the quarter, social quarter, to the effect that federal government is in full support or is aiding or even funding the designation of lands in several states for settlement of the Fulanis. You have Ruba, you have so many, if you look at that report, you see many of them. Can't remember. There is the one they formed recently. Now, last year, was it 2013, they formed Ministry of Livestock Affairs, and so on and so on. Go and check out the persons who are people in those programs and what have you. Most of them are from the same religion, the same ethnic group. So, then finally, the governors by colors or direct involvement. It is a well-known fact that throughout Nigeria, going by the provisions of the 1999 Constitution, federal government does not issue fee of coke. local government chairman does not issue C of O. The issuance of C of O is left in the exclusivity of the governors. Now, if you look at that publication to research, you see statistical backup, like I mean the incident in Abia State and Obinga to be precise. Another incident in Ohaji, two communities in Ohaji, Egbema, in Imo State. So you ask yourself, who are those that issue these jihadis, certificate of occupancy? That in the case of there is a place near Obon, whatever in Aba. One of the traditional leaders there raised alarm that the Fulani jihadis have acquired over 5,000 plots of land. Now let me finally rest my case by telling you who are involved. In some cases, some traditional rulers are involved. In some cases, you have what we call promising millionaires and billionaires involved. In some cases, you have top government foreigners as agents of this procurement. For instance, in Anambra State in 2001, a former commissioner for Homeland Security was heavily, let me use the word, heavily accused of facilitating procurement of land for these jihadis in Oka North, in Oka South, in Oyi, and many other local government areas across the state. So that is the case. So it's no longer feeding well. Then another one is what is it? This idea of seeding land. State government compelling some communities to seed their farm settlements, farmlands, bushes, and forests for this federal government project. The moment those lands are seeded, with in disguise, but with state government affected. I mean, some state government always approach such communities with, I mean, deceit, telling them that look, they want to build world class this or the agriculture of it. At the end of the day, the land will secretly be transferred to federal government. Who will not transfer the land to these jihadis. And of course, the patrons of the jihadis, I mean, Fulani herdsmen in Nigeria, they have patrons. And their patron board is still a registered organization in Nigeria. And they have severally come out to defend these jihadis. And so that was the time they even attacked Intersociety for cautioning the Southeast governors to be careful of fear. So that is exactly what is happening. I look at what is happening in Kenya, and so on and so forth. So my brother, these are the parties, the patterns and threats by which all these Igbo lands have been seeded. Now you have to say, what is the landmass of Southeast? The region by region, Southeast is occupying 29,525 square kilometers, which is 3 times lower, approximately 3 times lower than the landmass of Niger State alone. Niger State landmass is 76,363 square kilometers, approximately 3 times more than the total landmass of the Southeast. And why I mention Niger State is that Niger State is a middle belt or north central agro-fertile state that has the capacity to swallow all the cows in Nigeria they are rearing. So what are they doing here in the southeast? With a tiny landmass of 59,555 square kilometers. So who is following who? Why? What is it? Anyway.
All right. Can you really claim that the place is occupied if the locals are aware of this, the presence of these people? Like you mentioned, a few chiefs, a few Igwes are aware of their presence. Can you really claim that they are occupying your land if, people who are the original owners of those lands are aware and they allowed it?
Now let me go straight to the point. It's very funny. There is a link we attach in that report. I have just made the reference to it. That report, that link was the link to the report we did in 2021, and they got it released on 25th May 2021, alerting the Igbo communities and their leaders and natives on what is going on. Do you know the level of attack we received from that period? So many natives were calling us friends from left, right, and center. No, some people said they have called their community, and people said nothing like that. Now, 5 years later, or 4 years later, somebody went and dusted, I don't know who did it. Somebody went and dusted that particular field research. And we received more than 1,000 WhatsApp messages and email messages from concerned individuals thinking that research work was done. In fact, that was even what prompted us to go into this particular advancement, to take this advancement approach. So let me summarize your question. The truth of the matter is that going by patterns and trends used by these jihadists and their backers, including state authorities, federal state authorities, excuse me, don't identify you. I can tell you that the greater number of natives of those communities, such communities, are not aware. Why? Because those occupiers, the foreign investment, are not there with them in their market squares or schools or township. I mean, they are town, what do you call it? This urban areas. How do they occupy? They move at night. In Nigeria, they are referred to as people of the forest, while the Jaws are referred to people of the water people. So they move at night, late night, incidentally and unfortunately under the protection of the deployed security forces. So that's how they move. And where do they move to? To isolated settlements like communal farmlands, farm settlements, bushes, forests. Forests include all those forests dedicated or designated for all these ancient Igbo oracles and deities. That's how they move. And of course, like for instance, there is this big forest in the Kano East, in Kano East, called Ohia Atonshi. You know, Atonshi, they mean Atonshi. So that's what they call Atonshi. The Ago, they call it Egu. So that place is in the central Igbo language. I'm referring to Agudene forest, Ohia Atonshi forest, Ohia Atonshi forest, which those people call Ohia Atonshi. I have a powerful reverend father who is a professor who is from there. So that's such distance. And they have made Europe, foreign have encroached into that land since March 2020. And that was the reason why, for that block between soldiers of Nigerian army and the community leaders, including the leader of the community up to today. At a time, the family stand that place and said, if you don't pitch out all the data, all due to your community, IPOB, and USM them that. Simple because of what? If they mobilize their youth and they march out the foreign men who occupy Obia, I will say Obia Atonshi forest in Eguden. That forest by about others have outbounded, joined about 3 communities on and states like that, about 3 communities in that area. I'm just giving you an example. If you go to Ohafia, what is the source of the rift between soldiers of Nigeria, particularly 14th Brigade Ohafia, and the leaders, traditional leaders, that is Economic of Ohafia Kingdom? That's the root. It is because of the central and investment. The people said, no, Fulani cannot come and take over our land. Then the soldiers, go as we speak, just go to it, we see it on the internet. More soldiers elected yes, of that committee as facilitators of training ground for TSN and the IPOB and what have you. How many will I count? Even in this, what is this community in Imo State we visited in 2022, under this Itenansa, Esiawa, Itenansa, all those, there is a particular community, Akamanara staff, on the Itenansa. The traditional rulers palace of that community was tearing down back because of the same issue. And so on and so forth. Or in Edema, what is it, Edema? The Ondo Oguta local government. What is the name of that community? I've forgotten the name of that community. One of the traditional rulers, one of the ex-traditional rulers, a very good friend of Inter Society. Now, all these men occupied their place and they protested. Since then to today, they have let Nigerian army, soldiers of Nigerian army have not around them for rest. So you can go on and on and on and on. So the summary of the whole thing is that, straight to your question again, is that it is correct to say that greater number of natives of the affected communities are not aware that Fulani residents are taking over their forests. So that is the simple truth. Why? Because those people, by the time they move, they use light. There was a youth leader back in 2023 that was abducted. He was going back to Suka or Muturu, and they abducted him and all that. Do you know within the space of 4 days, they trained, they engaged the foreigners and forced them into trekking. And they covered the entire office by trekking. Because these people know the actual way, all these, you know, it's for short, they know the short routes to, that take, that is rooted in each of these forests in each of these states. The young man just giving account for how they were taking around the southeast. They busted into Delta from there to Ezagu, from Ezagu to other places like Abia, Anambra, this, that. Before you know it, they covered the entire southeast. It was amazing. In 4 days, with leg. So you see, so in most cases, people do not know. That is why, even in your community now, I say you people don't have forests. If you people have forests in your community now, if you do, it's assuming you go back, you return home. And some friends say, why don't you go to the forest in nearby your community and check out? I don't think you will go. Nobody dares to do that because of fear of, look, what if I go inside that forest and get killed and get abducted and what I do? Because you don't even know when they move into that and occupy their forest. And like I say, it is not an isolated case. It is not accidental. It was systematically coordinated with the state structure backing. Thank you.
Quite an interesting expose that you are putting out there. Another point I actually wanted to make is, do you think that the governors are aware of this occupation? Do you think that they are aware? And do you also think that these occupation of some sort is destructive to the community? Do you think there's a sinister plan to cause chaos or cause mayhem? Because I mean, at least to the extent I know, the Constitution doesn't stop anybody from living anywhere, from being or staying, anywhere. Do you think that this occupation is a grand plan to dovetail into something sinister? What are your thoughts on all of these?
Let me not forget this one because people, I think I have to use this opportunity to address that issue. Of course, I'm a criminologist by training. I'm graduate of security studies. Now, saying human rights leader, and I'm very, very comfortable with the provisions of the 1999 Constitution. From section 1 to the last section, 320. So I'm aware. So it is not true. It is not correct to say that any citizen has a right to move, freedom of movement in any part of the country. Just like that. You know. But it is correct to say that every citizen has a right to lawfully move. Lawfully move. It's not when you carry AK-47, you go and occupy my place, and if I ask you, you say, Constitution allows you to do that. It's not true. Everything you must do, every right you must enjoy in Constitution of freedom must be that is lawfully guided. So let me correct that impression. Then secondly, sorry, you ask whether governors are aware. In law, in criminal law, there are two types of culpability. One is called direct culpability. The other one is vicarious culpability or involvement. So if governors are trying to exonerate themselves from being directly involved, they cannot exonerate themselves from being vicariously involved. As you speak, you can check out the meaning of vicarious liability on your Google here. So what am I trying to say? The governors are aware. In fact, my own thing that even if they say they are not directly aware, they are indirectly aware. So they cannot escape it. Let me also tell you how they are directly aware. Let them come out and tell us that none of them has issued a certificate of occupancy to any Fulani. 4 of them are Catholics. One is a member of a Seventh-day Adventist church. That is the governor of Abia State. 4 others are Catholics. We are meant to understand that our eyeing Papa Knighthood now or in Puchon.
Don't bother yourself. I'll give it to you later.
All right.
Link. Watching
Emeka, I'm so sorry, Emeka. We'll have to leave it there because of time. Some of the time we're going to really explore this further because it's actually a very important topic to us. So thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
So what I'm saying is that the government are
Stay with us.
Yeah, well. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Emeka, for your time. We appreciate you. Some other time, I'm sure that we're going to call you for an expanded question regarding this development. Thank you again. We're back after this, to stay with us.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.